Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Limerick Junior Soccer Focus with myself, Adrian Finnin, and joined once again by Aidan Ryan on this evening's show. I was kind of getting a smell through the computer, Aidan. Is that humble pie cooking there nicely behind?
A small bit of humble pie. We have to give a bit of credit to Crew Park, don't we, Adrian?
Yeah.
After fine victory in the Tuohy Cup, really good win. Albeit on penalties, but a fantastic victory for them, as we had Fairview out and out favourites for that game. I suppose the only bit of cover we have is that we felt, or certainly I felt, that Paul Danaher would play a full strength team, or what we would assert would be a full strength team for that match. And as it turned out, he didn't. He rested 4 or 5 players on the bench, and while he did bring them on later in the game, it was obviously too late then in terms of turning the tide, in terms of making sure the game went in their favour. But great victory for Crew. You got to hand it to them, and by all accounts they battled their hearts out and threw their bodies on the line and kept their nerve in the penalties, because I believe they were 2-0 down in the penalty shootout as well. So kept going throughout, and look, you got to give them credit for that. Great victory for them.
Yeah, I won't sell you out, Aidan. I had Fairview as staunch favourites for that game as well, so I'll have to take some responsibility too on that one. It was a huge win for Crew Park. I suppose in some ways the effort it took and the energy it took, Aidan, cost them maybe 3 days later in the league, like we thought it would regardless anyway, when they played Pike, strong favourites for a league title charge as well, and have won every game in the league. That brings me just to Pike before we move on to Crew and Regional later on. But Pike Rovers are away this week against Ashton-on-Coddy, another huge game in the Limerick District League Premier Division. I was actually, you'd be following, teams and games closely every week, Aidan, but I wouldn't necessarily be looking at the table in huge detail in terms of goals scored and goals conceded all the time. But I have to say, only 1 goal conceded from Pike Rovers. Incredible, really, after 7 games.
Yeah, amazing, really. But I never bet against Pike Rovers when it comes to competition, be it league or cup, Adrian. As we've spoken before about their DNA, they seem to keep themselves in games, even though they might be playing well. And when they are playing well, then they're scoring a few goals themselves. They've been very consistent in the league over the last 9 or 10 years, and they have that experience of knowing how to manage league games, how to take it to the wire, like they did last year, when at times it seemed that it was going to be out of their reach. They kept going and eventually won it. Their form in the league this year has been excellent. Let's face it, and possibly a tricky game from Sunday. We just don't know how Ashley want to react to what's happened the last 3 or 4 Sundays. But Pike will obviously feel that if they get another 3 points on Sunday, that it kind of not put curtains on Ashling's title aspirations, but it'll certainly put a huge dent in them. Yeah,
it certainly would be the motivation for Pike. I suppose, considering the recent, problems for Ashton-on-Coddy, a lot of them have come in the cup, really. I know they lost to Coonagh, Aidan, but it just shows you if they do beat Pike, even though they'll have 1 more game played, they'll actually go level on points with them. So, if you can't get yourself up for that, if you're actually, still having a great chance at the league after being knocked out of 2 of the major competitions, then maybe people will say there's something wrong with you.
Yeah, and listen, we spoke about that last week, Adrian. We said that there was a league to play for, a Tuohy Cup to play for, and a Lawson Cup to play for. Still 3 big trophies to have a go at, even though they're out of the National Cup and the Provincial Cup. So there's plenty for them to fight for. We're querying the situation over the last few weeks where they've lost 3. Look, obviously the Coonagh game, you probably don't class it as a big, but it's a big league game in terms of the points to be played for, and they fell down.
You class it as a big game, Aidan, when you don't win it,
Exactly, and they were expected to win that, so they have a chance to redeem themselves, and they've had a little break. So we'll see what's happened in the last few weeks, and whether they come out all guns blazing on Sunday morning to win those 3 points. I think it's very important for Ashling, Adrian, that they actually don't lose. If you're John Lycett, if even you take a point out of this game Sunday, I think it'll be a positive result. I don't think Pike will be overly disappointed with it either. Though I would obviously feel that they would like to keep that winning run going, because their league form has been excellent so far.
Considering Ashley and Cody have conceded 10 goals in the last 3 games as well, it is important, I suppose, to maybe, start if you're keeping clean sheets or just keeping the scores down really as well. And you'd imagine that would be the case. I know that you still would be close enough to Shane Clark as well, Aidan, following your time with Jamesburg together. Is there any update on Shane's injury from your point?
Well, so far as I know, he was still suffering that injury during the week. I'm not sure whether he'll be back for Sunday or not.
Yeah, that's a huge one for Ashley Anacadi, I suppose, just because of his presence on the pitch as well, Aidan, for even the Pike players and the many battles he's had with them over the years. I suppose in terms of a prediction, what would you suggest for this one? I know for myself, it's been close, but I think it'll be a close one, but I do think Pike may come out on top.
Yeah, I'm tipping Pike as well for the 3 points. I think there's too many vulnerabilities in that Ashling defence, given what we've seen over the last 2 weeks, and I'm not sure it'll be solved by Sunday. Plus the fact that I see Owen Hanrahan made his return to the team, the Pike team last Sunday morning. I would assume Colin Walsh-O'Loughlin isn't far off either. Steve McCann getting on the score sheet, which is important as well in terms of confidence. The other thing is Pike have a major threat from set pieces, Adrian, and I think Ashling are very vulnerable there. So I feel Pike will just about get over the line on Sunday and get to 3 points.
So Aidan, we know that we discussed how they started Pike with a 5-3-2 against Fairview. It's generally a 3-5-2 when they do go for that formation. And you just mentioned Owen Hanrahan. He's a player that has slowly but surely been moving back the field as he's got older, into his 30s. What do you make of the switch because when he plays in a 3, he normally plays at left centre back? What do you make of that move?
I think long term it could be a very good move for him. I would still be inclined to play him up on the left, Adrian, the left of the 5 in the middle of the field. I'd play him on the left of it. I still think he's an awful lot to offer there. Listen, he's not as quick as he used to be, but he's technically so good. He's a huge amount of experience, knows how to read the game, so knows what positions to take up. And the big thing about him is he's a two-way player, Adrian. When he's out in that position, he's not only good going forward, but he's very good on the way back as well. He'll give you an awful lot in terms of how they defend. And also, of course, his attributes from set pieces. He can deliver good balls into the box. And if he's not taking them himself, he's also a threat in the box because of obviously his physique and his height. And he's a guy who chips in with goals every single season. And as well as that, he's a huge leader on the pitch. So given where Pike are at the moment, he's very, very important to them.
Yeah, that goes without saying. Just to move on now, Aidan, we have Crew Park, who, maybe still will be trying to recreate the performance against Fairview. They host Regional United on Sunday morning. It's effectively a must win, Aidan, really, because if you look at the league table, if Regional were to win, it does totally end Crew's chances of finishing the top 6. Now, we don't know what the ambitions of the bottom 6 sides are, maybe to get into the top 6, but, realistically for Crew, if they want to keep those hopes alive, they have to win on Sunday. Yeah,
they have to get 3 points on Sunday. Started the season off really well, Adrian. Got some decent results, but it's come off the rails the last month or two. Pretty poor results. Some of the form hasn't been great, albeit they won that Tuohy Cup match against Fairview. A lot of players missing out of the squad the last 2 or 3 games. Certainly question the fitness, which we alluded to earlier on the season, some of the fitness issues in the team. And the way their form is at the moment, I can't see them actually winning the game. I think Regional will win that match. Regional, I think their fitness levels will be higher, a lot more quality in the team, even though the back line is probably very experienced from Regional. From there up back here in the Connaught, they're quite young, but I feel they have a lot going for them. This Regional team, if Sean has harnessed them right, and if they're up for the game Sunday, and they manage it right, I think they can take the 3 points.
Yeah, certainly, and I know that will be the aim for Sean Russell. Speaking of goals against and goals for, I know that Regional United have conceded 12 in the league, but if they're also joint second, in terms of scoring goals as well, which is something that Sean Russell definitely will be pleased with, because we know he likes to play an attractive brand of football, but there is penetration there by the looks of it so far.
Yeah, and he's lots of players on the pitch that can attribute to that. As I said, we've alluded to before, you've Pat McDonough, Owen Duff, Kieran O'Connell, the young lad in the wing, I think it's Mustafa is his name, is quite good. Yeah, technically very good. But I think they'll make the top 6, Adrian. But you're talking about that goals against column, and listen, that goals against column is going to be vital when you get up into that top 6, because you're going to be playing teams of a higher standard, obviously, teams that have a huge goal threat and keep clean sheets themselves. And he's going to need to tighten up at the back. There's absolutely no doubt about that as the season goes on. He has a tendency to play that 3 at the back, Adrian, and they tend to play out from the back a lot. And I've spoken several times about that. It can be caught. You can get at it, and you can cause trouble.
Do you think it might be more of a mixed approach needed, especially if they were to make top 6?
Yeah, I think he might need to go to 4, Adrian, and maybe tighten up a bit, and maybe look at tightening up even in front of that 4 and making it a bit more narrow, making it harder for teams to beat him. But listen, there is a Russell philosophy there, and I'm not so sure that's going to change. He likes to play a certain way. So listen, I've said before, good luck to him. But if they do make that top 6, he's going to need to tighten up considerably on what they've been doing.
Even though you haven't spelt it out, judging by your comments, I assume you think that the Dooradale club will come on top?
I do, yeah. I think they'll get to 3 points. I think there'll be a big motivation for them to get the job done and dusted in the next couple of games, because the split is coming. So it's going to be a big game. It's going to be a big game for Crew as well, because there's no doubt they would have harnessed ambitions of the top 6. I actually felt at the start of the season, given the amount of experience they had in the team, and with the couple of young lads that have been signed, like Adam Dorr and David Power, that maybe they might have done a little bit better than they have. But I feel Regional and, by the looks of it, Neen are going to pip them to that spot.
Yeah, I do agree with you. I think Regional will win, but I think everyone in Crew Park will be happy enough to see the 2 of us going with Regional as well, considering last week's
easy team talk for Albert in the morning.
Absolutely, yeah. So we'll be waiting with bated breath to see the result on that one. Also, as well, and there's Charleville against Coonagh in the league, which all of a sudden now, in terms of the bottom 6 outlook, is very important, because Coonagh have been on a great run. Obviously, we know they've been reinstated to the Tuohy Cup. There's 2 league wins on the bounce, building off that, and a Coddy win last week as well. And there's a chance here for Coonagh to put 6 points between themselves and Charleville. Now, while we know they will have to play each other again twice, as well as the other teams in that zone, likes of Jamesborough as well, that's a decent cushion for Coonagh.
Absolutely, spot on. Listen, they've done really well the last few weeks, Adrian. I saw their game against Ashling, and as I said to you, I felt they deserved to win that match. They battled their hearts out, were very well organised. Obviously left it till the last minute with that goal to win us. I also saw them Sunday against Jamesborough, Adrian. I went to the game Sunday morning. I enjoyed the match. I thought it was a really good game, given where the 2 teams are. I tried to both sides try to get it down, play good football. Borough dominated the first half. Played the better football. Probably the decision making in the last third hurt them, because I certainly felt they were getting through the Coonagh midfield rather easily. But when it got into the last third of the pitch, there were just a few decisions that they got wrong. Probably taking a little bit too much out of the ball, rather than pulling the trigger around the edge of the box when they had openings to do so. Coonagh took the lead just before half time. Borough didn't deal with a throw-in down their left-hand side of the pitch. Miles did really well to roll the centre half near the end line, crossed it in, and unfortunately for Jamesborough, it came off a defender and went into the net. The second half, a little bit more even at the start, until Coonagh had, unfortunately, a man sent off for a second yellow card. Gordon McKevitt, I thought he was really unlucky now to be sent off. I saw the incident, and I felt the referee got it wrong, even though the referee had quite a good game. So Coonagh were down to 10 men for the last 20 minutes. And to be fair to them, Ian Connolly, who was caretaker manager for the day, set them up with a 5 across the back and 4 in front of them. They actually left no one up top. And they just sprayed balls out to the right and left wings and chased it down. and worked their socks off. Defended really well, got the blocks in, got the headers in, the tackles in. And of course, Josh Sheehan, who was my man of the match, I felt, with a couple of excellent saves, one particularly from a free kick in the second half. They saw it out, and a great 3 points for them. And listen, they're on 10 points now, Adrian. Another three or 4 points coming to the split. They'll be delighted with that. It'll give them, as you say, that little bit of a cushion. And they played that game Sunday without Niall Earls. And Niall Earls had come back into the team for the Ashland game. And I think I mentioned him to you. I thought he was absolutely outstanding. But they had Andrew Layden and Joey Sheehan there on Sunday. Now, they had a few ropey moments, but they did really well overall. Organised themselves, a lot of communication. They took Andrew Layden off into the second half and brought on Rory O'Neill, and he did really well as well. So they'll be happy. Their squad is starting to strengthen a bit. And the last few weeks with the Tuohy Cup reinstalment has really perked them up, and they'll be looking forward now to these next couple of games.
The cat's out of the bag, Aidan. You've put it out of the bag. I got a message from Ian Connolly after the game suggesting that, well, he wasn't suggesting, more so than stating that it was Jeremy Moyle scored the goal for Coonagh. You're now telling me it's an own goal.
Well, there's absolutely no way Jeremy Moyle came at that goal. Now, if I was a goal scorer, I would probably do the same. But it definitely came off, and I won't even name the James for a defender. It came off from about 6 yards out and just rattled into the corner of the net. But you have to give Jeremy Moyles a lot of credit now as well, Adrian. Worked his socks off up top in the first half. Really made it hard for defenders to get out, even though he was up there on his own. And in the second half, when they went down to 10 men, Ger was pushed out onto the left of the 4 in front of the 5 and did a fantastic job. As you would always expect Jeremy Moyles to do, he will do everything he can to help the team.
Absolutely. And you were talking about the points tally, right? Coonagh have 10 points. If they win that game against Charleville, which, we would imagine will be a close encounter on Sunday, that you're going to 13 points. I can't exactly remember, Aidan, but I think it was around 22 points that won that Shield last year. I mean, you're talking about only 9 more points if you're going by that. Now, it might be bigger this year, but, that's a huge platform.
Yeah, and listen, if you can get that little bit of consistency in the league, as I said before, every single point is precious. And you can prop yourself up a place or two. You'd be surprised where you can end up by the end of the season. And they've set it, like you said, they've set a great base for the whole thing now. Important again that they go out and get a result this Sunday. That won't be a given now, Adrian, against Charleville. That will not be a given. I saw the two of them playing in was it the Munster Junior Cup there about a month back, and Charleville beat them 2-1. And Charleville did really well that day, now I have to say. I thought they played some fantastic football, and they took their chances when they got them. So they'll be a handful for them on Sunday. So we certainly wouldn't write off Charleville getting a result either,
Yeah, and we have discussed obviously the problems Charleville had early doors in with the GAA commitments, and obviously coming up from the division below as well. It's always going to take time, you'd imagine, to adjust to the pace of the game in the higher division. One thing I was surprised about was the goals ratio in terms of they have conceded a few, but they've only scored 6 as well. And I was expecting more goals from Charleville, particularly with the likes of Shane Dillon there. I mean, it's probably going to be a bit of a concern from Adam Castle and something he'd like to see an improvement in soon.
You would, yeah, definitely. They have been scoring goals in the cups.
Yeah, definitely.
And some of the young lads, which is great to see, like Owen Clifford and McNamara have been tapping in with goals there. But you would like to see more consistency in terms of goals in the league. And we flagged that early in the season. I think I said, Adrian, that I actually didn't see a problem for Charleville scoring goals because it was in their DNA. But the problem they would have was at the other end of the pitch. Now that obviously they haven't scored more goals in the league, but they have been conceding quite an amount. And that's in their DNA as well. They're not a defensive side, Adrian. Charleville like to play the ball out from the back, are not afraid to get their fullbacks high up the pitch, and obviously relying on Shane Dillon a little bit. Maybe an over reliance at times in the league on Shane, and if you do keep him quiet, depending on how you defend against him, you can nullify him. And I have noticed teams tend to lengthen the pitch when Shane is playing so that he can't get in behind them, and it makes it a bit more difficult. He's a dangerous player because he makes little runs across the defence and finds himself in space in behind the defence. And teams have been counteracted and that by defending rather deep and nullifying in that way. So listen, it's up to other players around the pitch to help out there and chip in with a few goals for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And our final game to preview as well, Aidan, sees Janesborough, who obviously off the back of that Coonagh defeat, travelled to face Ballinanty. A huge task for Shane O'Hanlon's side, there's no doubt about that. Ballinanty, looking at it, they're obviously perched behind Nina slightly on goal difference just going into the game here on Sunday. But, you know, a big chance for Ballinanty with Annacotty and Pike playing each other as well to go up to 20 points and get themselves, you know, I'm not saying they're out of it anyway, they're only 4 points behind, but get themselves right back into the mix before we even hit the halfway point of the season.
Yeah, they'll be looking to get the 3 points here. And they've had a couple of weeks break, Adrian. So you would assume that David Dunphy, Remash and Derek Bradish have been doing a bit of work on the training ground. And maybe any little niggles and knocks they had will have probably cleared up by Sunday. So a very difficult test for Janesborough. You know, I said before, Ballinanty seemed to have an awful lot going for them this year. Strong defensively strong. Adam Costello, Aidan Hurley, certainly defined the season for me. Jake, is it Adams?
Josh Adams, yeah.
Josh Adams, sorry, it's centre half. Certainly a big find for them.
And also Tomas O'Connor, Aidan, has been back in the side in recent weeks too.
That's right, made his comeback, and I think he scored actually, didn't he, in last week? I think in a eventful game, because someone said to me he was sent off as well. So
that wouldn't be surprising if he was anything like his brother.
There's every possibility he might be missing the game on Sunday already after making his comeback. But listen, he's going to strengthen the squad. There's no doubt about that, and a lot of quality there, given his time at Limerick FC, etc. So, but it's from midfield up, even Adrian. You're looking at the players like Dylan Kelly Higgins, Adrian Power, Habib up front. The two Fitzgeralds, there's a lot of quality there, technically a lot of quality, and the Burns is obviously in the squad as well, so a lot going for them. Like the pattern of play that David has developed with them, they're getting it down, they're moving it quick, and they're a goal threat. And listen, they will have designs of getting up that league table and challenging up at the top, so obviously important that they get to 3 points to set themselves up. Listen, they're going to be in the top 6, no problem, there's no doubt about that. So they need to obviously concentrate. Don't take any of the teams they've left in the last round for granted, to make sure they're in the top 6. And then listen, it's big time then, because you're meeting all the top teams around you.
Yeah, I remember when I interviewed Dave Dunphy after the trouncing of Fairview Rangers earlier in the season. He did say that his side tend to struggle. They have no problem getting themselves up for the big games, but they do tend to struggle against the teams that they're expected to beat. They will be expected to win this game, Aidan. And you know, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I know they played the likes of Granville and Cardiff in the Cups recently, but they haven't had a high-intensity league game as of late. Do you think that, you know, that'll be a slight concern going into it for Dunphy?
Yeah, it will. There's no doubt about it, because sometimes you can take these games for granted and you can become unstuck. And I've always said, you just need to win these games, Adrian. You know, performance is fine. If you're a club that's aspiring to win the league, just win these games, get them out of the way. If you get the performance, great, but get over the line and win them. It's so important. Janesborough will come out. Shane has definitely developed a pattern play with Janesborough. You can see the way he's set up with wingers, but he's just lacking that bit of quality at the moment. He has signed a few players there recently. James Power has been a really good signing from Tipperary. He's from Tipperary. Played a Sunday. I was very impressed with him. Had a spell at St. Michael's. He's also signed Conor Arthur from Ashling B. He's brought in another young lad from Carrickanish. I can't think of his name off the top of my head. But he has brought in a few players to strengthen the squad. But I just don't think they'll have enough of the likes of Ballinanty. So I would expect Balla to get those 3 points there to propel them further up the table.
Yeah, I do agree with you on that one. You know, it pains me to go into another Tuohy Cup game, considering it's on right now, or in the middle of it right now as we record, unfortunately, Aidan. But Nina and Pike this evening, you know, obviously they've played each other very recently as well in the league, so you know or in the cup as well, excuse me. So they'll be very familiar with each other. So I know that I'm going to pip Pike to go through, even though I should learn my lesson to write off someone so quick, especially Nina, who will be sick of us writing them off at this stage.
Yeah, listen, they've kind of surprised us in many ways this season. Some of their performances have been excellent. Obviously, the win against Ashling was astonishing in terms of the scoreline. The big question, I suppose, tonight for them is, have they learned from that last cup game? I felt they defended too deep earlier on in the match, drew Pike onto them. Pike scored with a couple of set pieces, Adrian. And in the second half, Nina pushed higher up the pitch and condensed the play a little bit more, and certainly came back into the game, albeit that they didn't create a whole lot in terms of chances. So it'll be interesting to see now whether they've learned from that and take it into the game tonight. I'm going to tip actually Pike to win. Won't like it either. I think Pike will get over the line. It could be a very tight game, but it depends on the teams as well. Pike have a big game, a big league game Sunday. Good to see how Robbie Williams approaches the game tonight and what kind of a team he puts out. You would like to think that he'll put out a strong team and keep the momentum going, because they beat Carew quite comfortably last Sunday and they had a good strong side out. So you'd like to think he will do the same tonight, because, as I said before, Adrian, this is a cup you can win. And I'll go back to the Carew Fairview game. I was very surprised at Paul Danaher that he didn't play a stronger side to start that Carew game, because why would you do it in the first round against Ballinanty and put up a fantastic performance, winning 5-1 with your strongest side? And I have agreed with Paul all season that he has played a strong team in every single game. He has played as strong a team as possible. He didn't do it against Carew, and they paid the price for it. So it'll be interesting to see what Robbie Williams will do the same tonight.
Absolutely. And just to move our gaze, from the Premier sides at the moment to a Premier A side who I suppose will have caught the attention for keen onlookers like yourself and myself anyway, in Hyde Rangers under Declan Casey. I mean, they're second in Premier A at the moment. They've won 7 of their 10 games after getting promoted from Division 1A last year. And I suppose you could correct me if I'm wrong, not saying anything about your age now or anything, but as far as I remember being involved in junior football, we'll say for the last, 12, 13 years at least, this has been the highest ranking that Hyde have been in, second in Premier A. So I played them myself earlier on, and they gave us a real tonking in that game. I've been impressed by them so far. Yeah.
Listen, David, look at the manager they have. You know, Declan has done it at all levels of the game. A lot of experience, a great football man. So I would just look, those players are learning loads off him. And if he has them organised, there's no doubt the pattern of play he'll develop with them will be very attractive. It's great to see them up there. It's good for that side of the city, given what's happened to Prospect. Yeah. I think it's very important that we have a team up that side of the city that's doing well in Premier A and maybe looking to get into the Premier. Very competitive league, Adrian, at the moment with the teams that are there. Really competitive league with Newport just ahead of them. And they're looking good at the moment, so you certainly wouldn't back against them getting up into the Premier.
I wonder, will Declan Casey be looking to give you a call? A little birdie told me that you got on the score sheet for that Lunkard B recently.
Yeah, it's true, Adrian. It was a gust of wind that drove me into the box, and that gust of wind the ball managed to hit my knee and fly. And listen, it was great. I got a goal Sunday against Newport, but actually, the funny thing about the game actually was the big thing I learned out of the game. Actually, you never stop learning, Adrian, was the conduct of Newport C. They had an average age of about 18, 19, maybe 20. There was about 15 of them there. They had no kind of manager as such. There was a couple of the young lads looking after the team themselves. And even though they were getting well beaten, Adrian, they never stopped throughout the whole game trying their hearts out. Never whinged at the referee. Never put in a bad tackle. Continued to play the game the right way, and were a credit to their club. An absolute credit to the club, and lots of other clubs, including our own club, can learn loads from that.
Yeah, absolutely, and that is brilliant to hear. Before that, I heard wasn't since 1999 that you'd been in the opposition box.
But those rumours are true. But Adrian, I'm going to make a late run now for the Golden Boot in 2A.
We'll wait and see. I'll be watching closely now after this confident outburst for the rest of the season. But my thanks once again to Aidan. Plenty to get through. I suppose it's worth noting as well, Aidan. This time of year again, the matches switch from 10:30 to 11 o'clock as well. And I believe the clocks are going back on Saturday, so you'll have the usual rush of messages as well from managers to tell people to stop, but you'll get to get their clocks right, and you'll still have about 5 players late.
Panic stations all around Adrian, guaranteed. Happens every year.
And I suppose that's what we love. We love complaining about it when we're there on the day. But yeah, my thanks once again, as I said, to Aidan. And we will be back with you next week for another episode of Limerick